we all wanted to begin by saying how grateful we are to the Presbyterian Peace Fellowship for giving us this Peaceseeker Award. We are located on the north side of Chicago. Our congregation is about 65 members on the rolls. Our focus has really been on people murdering other people with guns, and particularly the youth. We would like to see youth not die by gun violence.
We began getting involved when we had a member, Kathy Zartman, who got a group of churches together to request people to turn in guns. It was exciting that there was some response to this.
We just have this luck that in the fall, there is a marathon in Chicago, right past our church.
We thought part of our responsibility could be extending a wake-up call to our neighborhood about the prevalence of youth dying.
Putting the photograph of these beautiful young people on a line in front of the church, their names, the date of death, and their neighborhood. And it just is truly makes people stop and look at it.
Some of the people that were coming by to look at the display wanted something more. Our vigils have been a place where people have been able to come together from all over the city. It's rare to see South and West and North come together for anything. And we have centered the voices of both youth as well as pastors and people of color. We reached out to one of the famous hip hop stars here in Chicago and said, "We want to do this vigil. Would you be willing to come and talk?" Part of why he said yes is that his publicist had worked with this church on fair housing back in the 60s.
It starts with a couple of people being excited about an issue. Then it takes involving the congregation however you can. We learn from the toolkit that PPF has prepared.
We've used quite a few of the ideas in the toolkit, and it's, I think, especially good when you're starting out to get some activities from it. It can be simple things like praying daily for gun victims to things like being very active in protests. We've learned about the bills pending on gun violence prevention, then have written letters and postcards and emails during our refreshment time after the service.
Gun violence is a symptom of so many deeper systemic issues related to systemic racism, white supremacy, disinvestment, segregation. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Riot is the language of the unheard." And in some ways, I think we've often felt as a congregation that gun violence is also the language of the unheard.
Helping people understand how important their vote is why we do voter registration.
We've made a huge sample ballot to put in the back of the sanctuary because the ballot in Chicago can be 200 people long. We got a lot of this information from the League of Women Voters.
We've been grateful for our partners, and it's been important that over the years we keep showing up. We would love to encourage churches of all sizes to just take the first steps if you haven't yet. You don't have to be a big church. You don't have to be a church with a lot of money to just take a step in the direction of trying to get involved in gun violence prevention.
Okay, this is one of our gems from the Peace Prayer Vigil at First United Church of Oak Park. Somebody prayed for peace, had peace on their mind, took the time to pray for peace. Oh, I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed for peace.
We are so incredibly honored to be receiving this Peaceseeker Award and very humbled because we are just small actors in an effort that's going to take many of us to be successful. We are a moderate-sized church that is in an urban suburb bordering Chicago. Our church has had a long tradition of working against racism and on peacemaking. And when our neighbors and our friends' sons were dying on the streets, we had to get involved in gun violence prevention.
The committee surveyed our congregation and found that the #1 issue of concern is gun violence. In response, one of the projects the committee started was to create a scroll with a list of names of people who recently died due to violence in Chicago. To involve the entire congregation, we brought the scroll to church meetings and gatherings. We asked the people to write the victims' names and think about the impact to individuals' families and friends. The scroll of names was used in worship as a tool for prayer. We read aloud the names to honor and remember the victims for that week. The list of names ended up being so long that it went down the choir loft and into the aisles. I encourage you to try something similar to impact your community.
Right now, we have over 20 cities that have joined the Gun Safety Consortium, and that will promote safe gun technology. Owners can unlock their gun and use it quickly if they were threatened, but their children wouldn't be able to use it. You wouldn't have as many teenagers committing suicide with their parents' gun, and you wouldn't have the accidental shootings of little children shooting other people, and thieves stealing the guns won't be able to use them.
You know, gun violence affects all of us. We all need to be advocates for peace. But I also see how busy parents are today. And so our Waging Peace group offers little things for them to do. We might have a table after church set up with postcards for people to sign to legislators or letters to sign. In January 2019, our newly elected governor, J.B. Pritzker, passed into law the Gun Dealer Licensing Bill. It took 16 years for that bill to be passed into law, which makes it mandatory for gun shops in Illinois to be licensed at the state level. This new law makes it possible for state agencies to monitor gun shops to make sure that sales of guns are done legally.